Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, and I am transmitting from the beautiful, centralized area, which is called the Land of Enchantment, also known as New Mexico. Yeah, I only did one show last week. I've been running around, networking. Went to Salt Lake City for a while, and got some work up there from July to September. So, with my fellow union brothers and sisters, and having to find a place to stay was an issue, but only one big pothole. However, I am going back up there, and plus, I will do my damnedest to do my shows up there as well. All right. Well, just to give you guys a heads up, today is again Monday, June 16th, 2014. If I didn't say it the first time, forgive me. And today I'm going to be doing some nice multiple topics. Expect it, I'll say maybe an hour or more. Depends what mood I'm in. And hopefully you will enjoy this ride. I have to thank all my new followers and everyone else before that. I'm up to 1,184. So, hey, keep on spreading the word about it, man. And give me 1,200. Hopefully by the end of this week, that'll be great. So, today I'm going to be doing some topics. And the first one I'm going to be reading, it came from the Miami Herald today. And this is entitled, Florida Governor Rick Scott signs medical marijuana bill. All right. And this is not from the Amendment 2, but they had some bills that got passed through the House and so forth, and Rick Scott did sign it. Even though he's a flip-flopper, I will commend him for this. Doesn't mean we're going to be buddies. Alright, let's begin here. Tallahassee, it says here, the so-called Charlotte's Web law will benefit an estimate 125,000 children in Florida who suffer from severe epilepsy. This was written by Tia Mitchell and Mary Ellen Kloss. Time Herald Tallahassee Bureau. It says here, as he promised, Governor Rick Scott signed a bill on Monday that legalizes the use of non-euphoric strain of marijuana to treat conditions such as epilepsy, Lou Gehrig's disease, and cancer. He signed Senate Bill 1030, which approves the medication, and Senate Bill 1700, which protects the identities of patients who use it. And one moment, looks like one of my links here is being interrupted. So I'm going to shut this damn thing up. Hold on here. Yeah, be quiet. Oh, it's garbage. Like I really care. Oops, sorry about that. Good. Voila. I will proceed here. Sorry about that, folks. And it says here, as a father and grandfather who never want to see kids suffer, Scott said in the statement, the approval of Charlotte's Web will ensure the children of Florida who suffers from seizures and other debilitating illnesses will have medication needed to improve their quality of life. The governor's office also announced that he approved HB 697, which bans 6 new synthetic drugs. There is still a larger medical marijuana debate going on this year in Florida. Voters will be asked in November to weigh in on Amendment 2, a much broader medical pot referendum that would legalize marijuana for a range of conditions. Scott said that he personally opposes legalizing medical marijuana and the ballot initiative. Well, tough crap there, brother. I hope it wins and you may get out. Because I'll tell you one thing. No victim, no crime. Deep down inside, he knows I'm right. I've watched... Hold on here. Good grief. Looks like I'm being interrupted again, my friends. I'm going to try to do something about this. You know what? Let me see what I can do here. Okay. Dang it. I know what to do. Hang tight. Boom. Yeah, getting a little interruption again, but I took care of it as we speak, so I will proceed. Okay, so he opposes legalizing medical marijuana in the ballot initiative. You know what? I could care less. I have watched drug use, watch alcoholism. He said during the campaign Stop Monday, I've seen how it affects families. I can't support that. The Charlotte's Web bill legalizes strains of marijuana that are high in cannabidiol or CBD, but low in tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, the compound that produces a high. An estimate 125,000 children in Florida suffer from severe epilepsy, and their families lobbied hard to persuade reluctant legislators to open the door to limit use. It also could be used by adults. Authorized patients will be allowed access to the drug through oral or vapor form, but it may not be smoked. And if 60% of the Florida voters approve Amendment 2, it will allow doctors to prescribe other forms of marijuana, including the kind that is smoked, to treat an even wider range of conditions. The bill was amended at the 9th hour to stiffen licensing requirements so that only Florida nursery owners with businesses in operation for 30 continuous years will be allowed to grow Charlotte's Web. Florida physicians who have been authorized to order this strain of medical marijuana can start writing prescriptions January 1st. It will be sold through dispensaries licensed by the state Department of Health. Most of the legislators' Republican leadership oppose a rival Constitution ballot initiative, as does the Florida Sheriff's Association and Florida Medical Association. I know why. 1, because prohibition benefits them, and 2, Big Pharma doesn't like it. Boo-hoo. Many speculate that GOP-controlled legislator agreed to pass the low THC proposal to squash voter interest in passing the amendment, which opponents believe will lead to the total legalization of smoking marijuana, misuse, and abuse. Some Democrats have argued that the Republican opposition to Amendment 2 is additionally based upon a fear that voters who support the initiative are more apt to support Democratic candidates. United for Care, the main organization advocating in favor of Amendment 2, issued a statement praising Scott for signing SB 1030, but insisting more should be done. Today is an important day for our cause, but while tens of thousands of Floridians are one step closer to a healthier life, many times that number can draw nothing but hope from this move, said Ben Pollara, United for Care's campaign manager. The only definitive and conclusive solution to remove the barriers faced patients when debilitating conditions who can benefit from the use of medical cannabis is the approval of Amendment 2 on November 4th. The campaign is supported by Orlando lawyer John Morgan, who has spent about $4 million of his own fortune. The vote on 2 campaign formed recently to give a voice to the opposition. Sheldon Adelson, a Las Vegas casino owner and one of the wealthiest men in the world, donated $2.5 million to bankroll the anti-Amendment 2 effort. Oh yeah, ha 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 ha! The battle is continuing on this essential referendum. But I have to be very sincere. I'm not the kind of person. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go get this smoked pot. I am not. I don't smoke marijuana. However, I did a lot of homework on this for a very long time, especially by one book that was written by the late Jack Hare. May it so be forever free, entitled "The Emperor Wears No Clothes." I recommend everyone that don't know about it take the initiative on buying the book, order it. Amazon may hit those mom and pop bookstores, ask for it, and you'll be surprised what marijuana as a whole can do. So the truth of the matter is, when you have the Florida Sheriff's Association and you got Mr. Sheldon Adelson, and Rick Scott are like real touchy about Amendment 2. Has nothing to do with partisan politics, but it's principle, because Article 1, Section 2 of our state constitution says on basic rights, all of our natural born rights are considered inalienable. Alright, you can look that up. We got a Florida Constitution. I put down my past archives, so definitely check it out. And two, the reason why the Florida Sheriff's Association is against it, because they can lose revenue. And three, the Florida Medical Association, they're involved with Big Pharma. As far as I'm concerned, it's just an honest opinion. And in addition, the reason why Rick Scott could be against it, because private prison firms, there's a claim that private prison firms campaign for him as well. CCA, which is called the Corrections Corporations of America. I could be mistaken, but CCA and Geo Group, they will lose a lot of revenue from this, because a lot of these individuals support victimless crime. And according to the George Mason University research, okay, like, even though the state of Florida is ranked number 12 in the most free state in the union, but when it comes to personal liberties, the state of Florida is ranked 38th, okay? And they say one of the things that need to be done is repeal all victimless crime laws on an adult basis. I'm not saying minors, but an adult basis. Alright? And two, the jurors have the power to say, hey, the guy was, he's growing marijuana, he has possession of marijuana, throw him in prison. You know what? The jurors can nullify any laws that are bad or poorly implemented. I know I've been stressing this for a good period of time, but definitely everyone in Florida, I'm itching to do this too. To vote on number 2, medical marijuana, because I'm tired of the victimless crime laws in the great state, and I'm not going to run away from some police state agenda, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot more of us than them, and that's a fact. They need us more than we need them. They work for us. Everyone here has inalienable rights under the 9th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 2 of the state constitution, which is called basic rights. I'm talking about on an adult basis. Enough said. All right, my friends, and I will put those couple of links up with those 2 bills he signed into law. Okay, which is Senate Bill 1030 and Senate Bill 1700. I will add the footnotes to this article. All right, next thing I'm going to be hitting again from the Miami Herald. This is entitled, Cuba Clamps Down on Wi-Fi Networks. Came out today. This is written by Juan O. Tamayo from the Miami Herald. It says here, little known nets allow members to exchange information and entertainment materials. When the illegal Wi-Fi network in the Havana neighborhood of Mentala was up and running, 120 members could play computer games and exchange news, movies, and TV shows with each other far from the watchful eye of the communist government. But then, a May 25th raid by state security agents, police, and employees of the state-owned ETECSA telecommunications monopoly seized several computers and powerful Wi-Fi signal boosters and shut down the network. The raid also cast a spotlight on the island's Wi-Fi network, one of the several semi-secret and mostly illegal ways that a growing number of tech-savvy Cubans use to exchange uncensored information and entertainment. These are applications that allow smartphone owners to chat and search the web without actual internet access. There are programs that allow them to send encrypted messages to each other, and that automatically sends them the day's top news and even horoscopes as emails. If the country with the worst internet penetration in the Western Hemisphere, a legal telephone and internet company uses satellite phones to bypass ETECSA and state security, and there are social media platforms for Cubans with the names of La Cubanata and Despedida Cuba, Wake Up Cuba. Cuban authorities regularly attack such innovations, calling them part of a U.S. cyber war to topple the regime. Indeed, the U.S. Agency for International Development financed the development of Zanio, a controversial Twitter-like platform for Cubans. But many of the new technologies used on the island are off the shelf, developed abroad, and imported by Cubans for their own personal use, and are evidence that the government is losing the battle to control access to the internet and uncensored information. Cuban officials are setting up a wall that is leaking and putting fingers on the leak. Pretty soon there will be more leaks than fingers, said Ted Hedkin, a professor at Baruch College in New York who studies Cuba's blogosphere. The latest leak to become public. Wi-Fi networks, essentially groups of friends and neighbors who started out linking their own personal routers about a decade ago to play multiplayer computer games and exchange entertainment programs. Wi-Fi networks are widely used in Cuba these days to exchange information not offered by the official media, said Alvaro Hierro, a computer technician and journalist who was a member of the Mantilla network known as the Vibroa Part Team. Government censors initially turned a blind eye to them, even as they increasingly use power signal boosters to extend the areas of coverage and transmission speeds, according to the blog La Singularidad, which helps Cubans find uncensored information. But what's been happening recently is that they've been attacking the networks with more virulence since the new program made headlines in early April. The blog added 2 other networks in Havana, as one is Cienfuegos, 140 miles to the east, were reported to have been shut down by authorities this year. But Hierro said Havana alone has at least a dozen still operating, and Cienfuegos residents said they know of others that are still working. The Wearable Part Team had 120 members who used passwords to access the network free of charge, and the games, movies, TV programs stored on a makeshift server, said Hierro, whose report on the closing appeared on the Miami-based website CubaNet. He said he did not know the name of the computer program used to coordinate the multiple connections. The network has its own web homepage, but no access to the internet, he added. Others said, however, that while most of the Havana networks did not have internet access, some obtained occasional access by bribing government officials who have accounts because of their work. Hierro said the same man who ran Mantilla Network ran even a bigger one with 400 members that the police broke up in early May. That network was linked to a string of others that stretched the coverage as far as 10 miles away, he told El Herald. It charged members up to $10 a month for access, plus a weekly paquete, a compilation of movies, novellas, sports, news reports, usually put together abroad and more often passed around among Cubans using DVDs or USB flash drives. Police seized equipment valued at nearly $1,100 during that first raid and fined network operators $1,000. He was fined an additional $180 after the latest raid, but was not charged with a criminal violation. ETECSA officials also shuttered a Wi-Fi network last month that had operated for barely a week out of an apartment building in Pastorita neighborhood of Cienfuegos, with reach up to 300 feet, according to another report on CubaNet. No matter how much I explained to them that I only used to play games, officials did not understand. They alleged that I was doing was illegal and proceeded to seize equipment, said the network's owners, Carlos Daniels. Cuban laws are apparently unclear on Wi-Fi equipment, and several nano-brand signal boosters are listed up for sale up to $200 on the website Revolico, a Cuban version of eBay, but the government blocks Cuban access to Revolico. USA subcontractor Alan P. Gross is serving a 15-year prison sentence in Havana for using satellite phones to create 3 Wi-Fi hotspots and internet access for Cuban Jews outside state controls. He was convicted of endangering Cuban sovereignty and a national security crime. Oh my goodness. The information war in Cuba is still in the works. And you know what? I think it's fantastic, okay, because I've been getting stuff out there for a good period of time, and even Raul Castro and the parliament, decided to ease up on the control grid, but you know what? I'm expecting to get a lot more, it's going to give them a lot more of a headache than they expect. They're going to get a lot more they're going to chew on, and in addition, there's another site. I think it's called. Hold on, I'm going to look this up for a moment. So bear with me, my friends. I'm going to look this up. I know I have my followers here. One of my followers is a Cuban site. I follow them. I do follow these guys, which are really good. I'm gonna add that to the link as soon as possible. Yeah, it's 14 Medio. Okay, they're based out of Cuba too, and the truth of the matter is they are not government funded, and they got some good information out there too. But remember, always observe responsibly. And you know what? I want to be very sincere. I want to add them to my little memo. I think that would be really, really cool. So I'm going to add that to the list of what to check out. Yeah, 14medio.com. Yeah, I will definitely put that on there, as soon as possible. So I'm going to put that with the Twitter account, so you can just do a little tweet along the way. But I've been checking those guys out. And if a lot of people don't know how to read Spanish, there are translation sites, and you can read it out in English. So I did some stories about them, about tattooing, a few shows ago, and it's really interesting because the whole thing is getting a lot more progress of freedom. And like I tell everybody, like the Cuban embargo doesn't work. It's not more than a sham, and I say that respectfully. I'm not here to offend my colleagues who are of Cuban descent. The people in Cuba gotta rise up honorably and tell those guys over there, you don't control us. You need us more we need you. That's how I look at it. So you know what? I tell all those pirates out there from Cuba to use the internet. Get them. Because we're doing it here in the United States as well. And I know areas of the world are doing the same. It's driving the tyrannical government's crazy. So you know what? Keep up the good work, man. I love it. All right, this one here, next article came from ProPublica, and it came out a while back. It came out actually today around 11 o'clock, and it's entitled "Iowa Court Tosses Sentence in HIV Exposure Case." And it says here, 6 months after ProPublica's story, Iowa's highest court has thrown out Nick Rhodes' 25-year prison sentence for criminal transmission of HIV. This was written by Sergio Hernandez. And as it reads here, this originally came from BuzzFeed, believe it or not, co-published with BuzzFeed. After a 3-year legal battle, Iowa's highest court has thrown out the sentence of Nick Rhodes, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison and a lifetime sex offender registration for criminal transmission of HIV. Rhodes, whose case was central to ProPublica investigation published last year, pleaded guilty to the charge in 2009 after failing to inform a one-time sexual partner that he was HIV positive. The investigation, co-published with BuzzFeed, found 541 cases across 19 states in which defendants were convicted or pleaded guilty to similar crimes. Some incurred harsh penalties even though they had not infected anyone or had used protective measures, such as wearing condoms or taking antiviral drugs that reduce the risk of transmitting HIV. In a 6-1 ruling issued last week, Iowa Supreme Court set aside Rhodes' sentence, saying his trial lawyer provided ineffective counsel when he allowed Rhodes to plead guilty to a charge for which there was no factual basis. Specifically, the court said prosecutors had not established whether Rhodes exposed his partner, Adam Plendel, to his bodily fluids, whether such exposure was intentionally, and whether such exposure was likely to result in the transmission of HIV. The third point has been at the center of the debate over laws such as Iowa's, many of which were enacted before the advent of modern HIV drugs. critics including Lambda Legal, the gay rights group that argued Rhodes' case, claims these laws unfairly target people with HIV and have not kept pace with medical knowledge about transmission, treatment, and prevention. The Iowa decision appeared to embrace this argument when Rhodes pleaded guilty. The court said it was still unsettled whether it was medically true with a person with a non-deductible viral load could transmit HIV through contact with the person's blood, semen, vaginal fluids, or whether transmission was merely theoretical, the court said. But citing great strides in the treatment and the prevention of the spread of HIV, the justices have said sexual conduct alone is no longer enough to establish whether a person can transmit HIV. We would not want to deprive a person of his or her liberty on the basis the defendant's action caused something that can only theoretically occur, the court said. In an email following the decision, Rhodes, now 39, lauded the ruling, calling it a victory for everyone living with HIV. I truly hope our luck continues and the wind has changed direction, he said. Scott Skodetz, one of Rhodes' attorney and Lambda Legal HIV project director, said the court's rulings could transform the way the other states interpret and apply their own HIV laws. Currently, at least 35 states have laws that specifically criminalize exposing another person to HIV. In 29 states, it is a felony. Many states hinge criminal liability for exposure to HIV on whether the virus could be transmitted by a particular activity, and this has been interpreted by most, maybe all, the U.S. courts to mean that there is any possibility of transmission. Skolets wrote in an email to ProPublica, but the Iowa decision, he said, established that a merely theoretical possibility is not enough and that the potential harm must be reasonably possible before criminal sanctions should attach. Skolets said Lambda plans to use Iowa's ruling to press similar arguments in other jurisdictions. From a practical perspective, the court's decision will change little for Rhodes. After spending several months in state prison in 2009, a lower court commuted his sentence from 25 years in prison to 5 years of supervised probation, a term that would end in September. The decision also came 2 weeks after Iowa Governor Terry Branstad signed a bill revising the state's HIV transmission law and installing a tiered sentencing structure that considers whether offenders intend to expose their partners to the virus and whether the HIV transmission actually occurred. The new law eliminates the sex offender registration requirements for offenders, includes a retroactive provision to remove anyone convicted under the old statute, such as Rhodes, from the state's registry. The bill drew support from local HIV activists and the Iowa Department of Public Health, but was opposed by some advocates in the state and nationally because it creates new felony offenses for intentionally exposing people to other diseases. In this case, an improvement for people living with HIV in Iowa represents a substantial worsening of the treatment of meningococcal disease, hepatitis, and tuberculosis. And the Center for HIV Law and Policy, in a statement which authorized a friend of the court brief in Rhodes' case. Lambda Skolets praised some aspects of the new law, but criticized provisions providing safe harbor to people with HIV only if they wear condoms, even when they are undergoing treatment. If they try to pass a law that required HIV negative people to wear condoms while having sex, people would legitimately rise up and protest at this egregious violation of their civil liberties, Skolets said. With the passage of a new measure, Iowa became the first state to radically overhaul its HIV law. Illinois passed a bill amending its law in 2012, and legislators in Washington have introduced bills seeking to update its HIV exposure statute since ProPublica's story was published in December. Federal lawmakers have also introduced legislation that would incentivize states to re-examine their HIV laws, and the U.S. Department of Justice and Center for Disease Control and Prevention published a joint review of state laws in the Journal of AIDS and Behavior. Rhodes' case, Rhodes' case will now be remanded to the Black Hawk County Trial Court, and prosecutors will need to decide whether to take the case to trial, negotiate a new plea deal, or withdraw the charge. We will renew the investigation and the court decision and make that determination with the victim and our Attorney General's office, said Black Hawk Country Attorney Tom Ferguson in an email Friday, adding that his office was still reviewing and digesting the court's ruling. Plendell, the man Rhodes had sex with, did not respond to ProPublica's request for comment. It is unclear whether Plendell, who at Rhodes' sentence hearing in 2009 asked the court to impose the maximum 25-year sentence, will still cooperate with prosecutors today. He no longer lives in Iowa, and in an interview last year, he said now believes his HIV exposure laws need to be revisited. Alright, yeah, there's some mixed views on here about this article. I have to say this for a fact, about this particular case, especially when it comes to consensual basis, okay, sexual consent. Alright, it doesn't matter if it's heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, don't matter. Okay, I'm talking about on a consensual basis. Alright? Everyone needs to take responsibility for their actions. That's a fact. That's what I find disturbing. Okay? And when you find someone guilty, you have to have the facts to back it up than theory or assumptions. Okay? It doesn't work. Assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Alright? Kinda, sorta means no. Alright, so, and, like if it's like a rape thing or a sexual assault, yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. But I'm talking about more on a consensual basis. So based on this article, that's what happened, and it's just really a shame. Hopefully, that Mr. Plendell is not exposed to HIV. That would be very disheartening. But it is an interesting case. So the whole thing is more on consent. So, the main idea is this: be responsible for your actions. I'm talking about mostly adults. Okay, that's at will, adults. And even a lot of the kids, they all think, "Oh, it's never going to happen to me." Don't even think like that. Because if you're going to take life for granted, it will blow back in your face when you least expect it. I don't know about Mr. Plendell, who had sex with Mr. Rhodes. I can't make that judgment because I don't even know them. But like I said, always be responsible. Alright, my friends, the next article I'm going to read here, a little bit of a little archive. Same thing from ProPublica. Came out June 13th, 2014 to be exact. And it's by Louis Beckett. It's entitled, Everything We Know About What Data Brokers Know About You. The companies that sell information about how much money you make, whether you're pregnant, divorced, or trying to lose weight, are facing new scrutiny. The story has been published, actually, interesting, it's been updated. So it's originally been published March 7th, 2013, but they did update it. And it says here, we spent a lot of time this past year trying to understand how the National Security Agency gathers and stores information about ordinary people. But there's also a thriving public market for data on individual Americans, especially data about the things we buy and might want to buy. Consumer data companies are scooping up huge amounts of consumer information about people around the world and selling it, providing marketers details about whether you're pregnant or divorced or trying to lose weight, about how rich you are and what kinds of cars you drive. But many people still don't know about data brokers exist. The Federal Trade Commission is pushing the companies to give consumers more information and control over what happens on their data. The White House released a report this May outlining concerns that these detailed consumer profiles might lead to race or income-based discrimination, what the White House called digital redlining. It is very hard to tell who is collecting or sharing your data, or what kinds of information companies are collecting. Earlier this year, Office Max sent a letter to a grieving father addressed to his name, followed by daughter killed in a car crash. Here's a look at what we know and what we don't about the consumer data industry. How much do these companies know about individual people? They start with the basics like names, addresses, contact information, and on demographics like age, race, occupation, and education level. According to the consumer data firm Axiom's overview of its various categories. But that's just the beginning. The companies collect lists of people experiencing life event triggers, like getting married, buying a home, sending a kid to college, or even getting a divorce. Credit reporting giant Experian has a separate marketing services division, which sells a list of names of expectant parents and families with newborns that are updated weekly. The companies also collected data about your hobbies and many of the purchases you want to make. Want to buy a list of people who read romance novels? Epsilon can sell you that, as well as a list of people who donate to international aid charities. What a concept! A subsidiary credit reporting company, Equifax, even collects detailed salary and pay stub information for roughly 38% of employed Americans, as NBC News reported. As part of handling employee verification requests, the company gets the information directly from employers. Woo! Yeah! Come on, people. I have nothing to hide, right? Okay, we'll proceed. Equifax said in the statement that the information is sold to consumers who have been verified through a detailed credentialing process. It added that a mortgage company or other lender wants to access information about your salary. They must obtain your permission to do so. Of course, data companies typically don't have all this information on any one person. As Axiom notes in his interview, no individual recorded ever contains all the possible data, and some of the data these companies sell is really just a guess about your background or preferences, based on the characteristics of your neighborhood or other people in a similar age or demographic group. Where are they getting all this info? The stores where you shop to sell it to them. Datalogics, for instance, which collects information from a store loyalty cards, says it has information on more than $1 trillion in consumer spending across 1,400 plus leading brands. It doesn't say which ones. Datalogics did not respond to our request for comment. Data companies usually refuse to say exactly what companies sell them information, citing competitive reasons, and retailers also don't make it easy for you to find out whether they are selling your information. But thanks to California's Shine the Light law, researchers at UC Berkeley were able to get a small glimpse on how companies sell or share your data. The study recruited volunteers to ask more than 80 companies how volunteers' information was being shared. Only 2 companies actually responded with details about how volunteers' information had been shared. Upscale Furniture about Restoration Hardware said it has been sent your name, your address, and what you purchased. to 7 other companies, including Data Cooperative, that allow retailers to pool data about consumer transactions, and another company that later became part of Data Logics. Restoration Hardware hasn't responded from our request for comment. Walt Disney also responded in describing sharing even more information, not just a person's name, address, and what they purchased, but their age, occupation, and number, age, and gender of their children. It listed companies that receive data, among them companies owned by Disney, like ABC and ESPN, as well as others, including Honda, HarperCollins Publishing, Almay Cosmetics, and yogurt from Dannon. But Disney spokesman Zena Mucha said that Disney's letter sent in 2007 wasn't clear about how the data was actually shared with different companies on the list. Outside companies like Honda only received personal information as part of the contest, sweepstakes, or other joint promotion that they had done with Disney. Mucha said the data was shared for the fulfillment of that contest prize, not for their own marketing purposes. What else do data brokers get information about me? Government records and other publicly available information, including some sources that may surprise you. Your state Department of Motor Vehicles, for instance, may sell personal information like your name, address, and the type of vehicle you own to data companies, although only for certain permitted purposes, including identify verification. Public voting records, which include information about your party, registration, and how often you vote, can also be bought and sold for commercial purposes in some states. Are there limits to kinds of data that these companies can buy and sell? Yes, certain kinds of sensitive data are protected, but much of your information can be bought and sold without any input from you. Federal law protects confidentiality of your medical records and your conversations with your doctor. There are also strict rules regarding the sale of information used to determine your credit worthiness or your eligibility for employment, insurance, and housing. For instance, consumers have the right to view and correct their own credit reports, and potential employers have asked for your consent before they buy a credit report about you. Other than certain kinds and protected data, including medical records, data used for credit reports, consumers have no legal right to control or even monitor how information about them is bought and sold. As the FTC notes, there are no current laws requiring data brokers to maintain the privacy consumer data unless that they use data for credit, employment, insurance, housing, or other similar purposes. It says here, so they don't sell information about health? Actually, they do. Data companies can capture information about your interests in certain health conditions based on what you buy or what you search for online. Data Logics has lists of people classified as allergy sufferers and dieters, asking themselves data on whether an individual has an online search propensity for a certain ailment or prescription. Consumer data is also beginning to be used to evaluate whether you're making healthy choices. One health insurance company recently bought data on more than 3 million people's consumer purchases in order to flag health-related actions like purchasing plus-size clothing, the Wall Street Journal reported. The company bought purchasing information for current plan members, not as part of screening people for potential coverage. Spokeswoman, Mitchell Douglas, said that the Red Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina would use data to target free programming offers to their customers. Douglas suggested that it might be more valuable for companies to use consumer data to determine ways to help me improve my health rather than to buy my data to send me prepaid credit card applications or catalogs full of stuff they want me to buy. Do companies collect information about my social media profiles and what I do online? This was updated June 12, 2014. Yes. As we highlighted last year, some data companies' records and then resell all kinds of information you post online, including your screen names, website addresses, interest, hometown, and professional history, and how many friends or followers you have. Axiom said it collects information about which social media sites individual people use and whether they are a heavy or a light user, but they do not collect information about individual postings or a list of your friends. More traditional consumer data can also be connected with information about you, what you do online. Data logics. That's how I pronounce it. Okay. I think digital logics. Yeah, data logics. The company that collects loyalty card data has partnered with Facebook to track whether Facebook users who see ads for certain products actually end up buying them at local stores, said a Financial Times report in 2012. In fact, the effort to collect online and offline information about you is one of the hottest new trends in the data industry. Companies are increasingly trying to use information about your offline purchases to target you online. It is not limited to what you buy. In the 2012 elections, companies were able to match your voting record to a cookie on your computer, allowing candidates to target you with online ads based on whether you're registered Democrat or Republican or how much you donated to a political campaigns before. Is there a way to find out exactly what these data companies know about me? This was updated the 12th of June 2013. Not really, although that's beginning to change. You have the right to review and correct your credit report, but with marketing data, there is often no way to know exactly what information is attached to your name or whether it is accurate. Most companies offer, at best, a partial picture. ProPublica Julia Agwin requested information about herself from data brokers and was equally irked by the reports that were wrong. Data brokers who thought I was a single mother with no education, as I was by the ones that were correct. It is necessary for someone to track that I recently bought underwear online. In September 2013, Axiom debuted AboutTheData.com, which allows you to review and edit some of the company's marketing data on you by entering your name, address, birth date, and the last 4 digits of your social security number. The Federal Trade Commission, Julie Brill, tweeted that more data brokers should follow Axiom's example, but the effort received mixed reviews from users, privacy advocates, and government regulators, in the New York Times reported. Previously, Axiom only let customers review a smaller slice of the information the company sells about them, including criminal history, as a New York Times reporter Natasha Singer described in 2012. When Singer requested and finally received her report in 2012, it included was records of her residential addresses. Other companies also offered some access. A spokeswoman for Epsilon said it allows consumers to review high-level information about their data, whether or not you purchase home furnishing merchandise. Requests to review this information cost $5 and can only be made by postal mail. Rapleaf, a company that advertises that has a real-time data on 80% of the U.S. email addresses, says it gives customers total control over the data we have on you and allows them to review and edit the categories and associate with them, like estimate household incomes and likely political contributor to Republicans. How do I know when someone has purchased data about me? Most of the time you don't. When you're checking out at the store and the cashier asks you for your zip code, the store is just getting the single piece of information. Axiom and other data companies offered services that allow stores to use your zip code and then the name of your credit card to pinpoint your home address without asking you for it directly. Is there any way to stop companies from collecting and sharing information about me? Updated June 12, 2013 sometimes, but it requires a whole lot of work. Some data brokers offered consumers the chance to opt out of being included in their database or at least receiving advertising enabled by that company. Rapleaf, for instance, has permanent opt-out that deletes information associated with their email addresses from the Rapleaf database. But to actually opt out effectively, you need to know all the different data brokers and where they find their opt-outs. Most consumers, of course, don't have that information. We collected a list of data brokers that will give you copies of your data, and another list of data brokers allow you to opt out. Just to let you know, there's like aqua blue, okay, wording, they're all links, okay, so just give you guys a heads up on it. So I will post this, all my articles will be posted on Facebook, Spreaker, alright. I will proceed here. Of the 212 data brokers she identified, less than half, 92 accepted opt-outs. For most of them, the opt-out process was laborious. Many required her to submit some form of identification, such as a driver's license, in order to opt out. In some cases, she wrote, I decided not to opt out because the service seemed so sketchy that I didn't want it to send in any additional information. But she was able to clear information from some databases. A search from my name on some of the large people's search websites, such as Analyst and Spreaker, yields no relevant results, she wrote. In a 2012 privacy report, the FTC suggested that data brokers should create a centralized website that would make it easy for consumers to learn about the existence of these companies and their rights regarding the data they collect. How many people do these companies have information on? Basically, everyone in the U.S. and many beyond it. Axiom, recently profiled by the New York Times, said it has information on 500 million people worldwide, including nearly every U.S. consumer. After the 9/11 attacks, CNN reported Axiom was able to locate 11 of the 19 hijackers in its database. How is all of this data actually used? Mostly to sell you stuff. Companies want to buy lists of people who might be interested in what they are selling, and also want to learn more about their current customers. They also sell their information for other purposes, including identity verification, fraud prevention, and background checks. If new privacy laws are passed, will they include the right to see what data these companies have collected about me? Unlikely. In a 2012 report on privacy, the FTC, or Federal Trade Commission, recommended that Congress pass legislation that will provide consumers with access to information about them held by a data broker. President Barack Obama has proposed a Consumer Privacy Bill of Rights that will give consumers the right to access and correct certain information about them. But this probably won't include access to marketing data, which the Federal Trade Commission consider less sensitive than data used for credit reports for identity verification. In terms of marketing data, we think that the very least consumers should have access to general categories of data the companies have about consumers, said Manshia Mithal of the FTC's Division of Privacy and Identity Protection. Data companies have also pushed back against the idea of opening up marketing profiles for individual consumer inspection. Even if there were errors in your marketing data profile, the worst thing that could happen is that you get an advertising offer that is relevant to you, said Rachel Thomas, the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Direct Marketing Association. Oops, sorry about that. I got a little scratch there. The fraud and security risks that you run by opening up those files is higher than any potential harm that could happen to the consumer, Thomas said. How do data brokers impact you? See the back and forth from 2013 Twitter chat with 3 privacy reporters. Yeah, good job by Miss Beckett. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the truth of the matter is, they have a lot of us on file since the day we were born. But one thing you gotta be really leery is like when they ask you for your phone number or what's your zip code. I opt out the best I can. I go, yeah, hey, pass. Don't even sweat it. Skip it. I let them know that's my power. And it's always good to buy cash too. Even though we have habits of using credit cards and debit cards, I admit it too when they order stuff online. Sometimes they do track that stuff. But if you try to do more low key, the less they know about you, the better. But always don't let these advertisers manifest over you. And like myself, when I go online, even shopping, I try to keep everything minimal as possible. So, but I say this, man, keep the pressure on them. They got a lot of great links on this particular page. Use them, and if you have something that's successful pertaining to this matter, hey, share it with everyone you love and throughout your network. All right. So, like I said, always observe responsibly. Don't put out too much information. Okay, if I'm going to ask you 1,000 questions, say piss on them. That's how I do it, and I say that with love. All right. Okay, let me see here. Next one here is from Patently Mobile. It was a patent bolt originally, and it came out today. It came out a couple days ago to be exact. Yeah, all right. And it says here, oh, excuse me. It's entitled, Samsung invents a new wearable device, the Smart Bangle. And it reads here, Samsung has thus far introduced wearable computers under the smartwatch category, which they branded as Gear and Gear 2. They most recently introduced a new fitness band, which they branded as Gear Fit. The market hasn't really taken to the smartwatch as of yet, as fitness bands have outsold smartwatches easily 4-1. Although Samsung rushed their first smartwatch to market, just to say they were first to market, recent patents tell us that they're working on future versions of wearables that are better thought out. The first one surfaced in September 2013, gave us a peek at a next generation wearable computer that Samsung has in mind. Now we get to see Samsung's latest patent filing regarding next generation wearable computers, and this time they provide us with much richer details to sink our teeth into. Samsung's focus this time around is sharply on the introduction of a smart bangle. The design of a bangle is to provide the user with a wire display that will be able to better run applications like music, fitness, email, Facebook, and much, much more. The idea closely mirrors one that Apple first introduced back in February 2013, though it does provide us with many new features that are uniquely Samsung's. The Bangle will be able to be used as an e-wallet communicator, provides smart zooming functions for photos and maps and much, much more. If you want to know some of Samsung's thinking about next generation wearable device, then this report definitely delivers the goods. And it says here about Samsung's patent background with the development of electronic technologies. Various kinds of electronic apparatuses have been developed and distributed. In a particular, high performance parts can be miniaturized. In recent years, the electronic apparatuses that can be implemented in a small size and accordingly mobile devices equipped it with a variety of functions such as a mobile phone, a tablet PC, a laptop PC, and an MP3 player are increasingly used. I want to make this a little bit bigger. I can still read it, don't get me wrong, my friends. I just want to have fun here. Alright? And I proceed. Most mobile devices are put into a user's bag or pocket and carried by the user. For example, when the mobile device is put into a pocket and carried, the mobile device is likely to come out from the pocket when the user sits on a chair or lies down. Therefore, the risk that the user loses their mobile device increases. In addition, when the mobile device is carried in a bag or pocket along with things like keys, the mobile device may end up scratching or damaging their device's display. Therefore, is an increasing need for a method of manufacturing mobile devices in a form that is easy to carry. In addition, there is need for a method for controlling operation of such mobile device easily. Samsung invents the Smart Bangle. Samsung's patent application relates to a new wearable computer that is Bangle style and includes a display and a motion sensor that could be configured to change the user interface on the display to operate many kinds of applications, in accordance with an aspect of Samsung's present disclosure. When a display is moved in a first direction while content is being played back, the controller may change the screen to a previous content playback screen. And when the display is moved in a second direction opposite to the first direction, the controller may change the screen to a next content playback screen. And it has all the figures, the photos on here too about the Bangle style Wear computer. And I'm just going to go a little further down here. You got the photos. And it says here, as you can see in patent figure 2A and B above, the Bangle display is designed to move in both forward and backward directions. When the first part, number 100-1, slides and rotates along the second part, 100-2, the device's controller may perform an operation corresponding to the sliding phase. As also shown in patent figure 2/B is a connector surface which is set between the two parts and has surface that is coated with material having less friction, so the first part easily slides on or in relation to the second part. Samsung notes that the space between the parts may be filled with the lubricating material such as liquid or gas. The protrusions illustrated as patent points A through D and patent figures 2AB above are spring-loaded when the display is moved forward or backwards. The springs are protrusions moved down so as to allow the display to move smoothly. When the user stops their rotating motion, the springs are released and the protrusions spring back to between the upper protrusions noted as patent points 1, 2, 3, 4, and the lock display firmly into place. As the user rotates the display to a certain point, a new application and user interface will be displayed. Alright, it says here about the motion detection, wrist gestures. In respect to operating the device, Samsung notes that the user may be able to make distinct gestures to control the Bangle's functionality, such as raising an arm in a certain way using a controlled flicking action of the arm, or simply rotating their wrist in a certain manner while wearing the Bangle. In Samsung's patent figure 6 through 7 below, we're able to see examples of an operation corresponding to a motion direction of a mobile device. More specifically, we're able to see in patent figure 6 that the user has made a flicking gesture to quickly and automatically move the display forward, and a reverse action bring the display back as seen in figure 7. When such a gesture is recognized, the controller changes the user interface or app displayed on the display. For example, in figure 6, when a motion in the first direction is detected while screen 2 is displayed, screen 1, which was previous screen, will be displayed. In contrast, when the user makes a gesture on flicking in a second direction as shown in figure 7, screen 3, which is a next screen, is displayed. So they have it all illustrated here on the wrist gesturing, so it's pretty interesting little stuff here. And it goes here, Samsung notes that Bangle's built-in controller may skip over a plurality of phases according to a new degree of flicking operation, and when the user holds the flicking operation without returning to its original state or position, the controller may continue to change the screen so that the user can quickly skip to a favorite app and note it. In figure 8, where app 1 became app 7 within a second or two, depending on the speed of rotation that the user is able to set. And we go through here about a map and photo zooming, and all displays are available. In Samsung's patent figures 13A, 13B, and 13C, noted below, we're able to see that beyond rotating the Bangle's display to change apps, the user will be able to perform a zooming function once within certain apps such as maps or photos. In such apps, the user is given the option to zoom. Once the zooming feature is chosen, rotating the Bangle's display will then enable the display to zoom in or out depending on the direction that the user rotates their display, and it demonstrates it here on this illustration. And we go a little further, locking and unlocking Samsung Bangle. And another interesting feature that Samsung emphasizes in their patent filing related to locking and unlocking the Bangle's operations. Samsung states that when the user moves their arm up to a certain angle, it automatically turns on the badge, and as noted in patent figures 15A through C below, and they'll show you that. Okay, the built-in camera then you will use a recognition function to unlock the device, though alternative methods of unlocking the device may be applied. Later in the patent filing, Samsung describes the camera detecting the user's eyes, though they never elaborate upon this feature. Whether they'll use some form of iris scanner or other eye movement technology to determine if their eyes are real versus being photo is unknown at this time. And there's photos. That's a little bit interesting about identity stuff. Okay, possible New World Order 101. Yeah, anything's possible. It depends how you're going to use this technology. And it goes down here when the user lowers their arm naturally in a resting position or away from camera, the device will automatically go to sleep to conserve battery life. The camera, according to Samsung's filing, may be very sophisticated for a miniature camera, a general purpose lens, wide angle lens, a zoom lens, or any kind of specialty lens may be employed. The Bangle may include flexible or rigid materials. Below you'll find a series of designs that Samsung is contemplating for their new smart Bangle. Samsung notes that some of the designs could be designed using flexible materials for the band, while others clearly designed with more traditional set Bangle shape. The flexible style band could technically be considered a watch strap design, and there's illustration on there as well on how it be done. And it says here, in the case of patent figure 27, Samsung describes their design as handcuff shape that could either be interpreted as being sometimes something kinky or a peek at something that Big Brother could use in the future. Well, we're on the topic of Big Brother handcuff designs. Do you remember this shocking revelation? Perhaps there's a link to that, okay? Perhaps Samsung is considering various other markets beyond the consumer for the handcuff design. Samsung further notes that the display panel that may be implemented in future Bangles include a liquid crystal display or LCD, an organic light emitting diode or OLED, an electrophoric display, which is EPD, an electrochromic display, ECD, a plasma display panel, PDP, and or the like. Though going by what Samsung stated about OLED during this week's keynote regarding their new tablets, Samsung is likely to use their latest OLED display technology here as well. Firmly fit with a cushion comfort. Comfort, of course, is going to be the one of factors consider when users choose a wearable computer from their wrist, and Samsung has paid particular attention to details on this front for their new smart Bangle. To get the right comfort and fit for the user's wrist, we are able to see in Samsung's patent figure 28 below a new creative system that includes an inflatable cushion under patent point number 2830, which includes an air driver. According to Samsung, the cushion is provided on the inner surface of the Bangle closest to the user's wrist. They further note that the cushion could be made with polymer resin such as rubber or vinyl that is able to be expanded and contracted by using an air mechanism. And there's configurations for that as well that can be deflated or inflated. Due to this particular Bangle design not including an openable latch of any kind, the diameter of the Bangle, according to Samsung, should be larger than the thickness of a user's wrist, so that the user can easily slip their wrist into the Bangle. In a particular configuration, the Bangle will include a wearing command button as noted as patent point 2810 and a release button noted as patent 2820. Number 2820, The user simply presses the wearing command button to begin adding air to the cushion under the Bangle's face. The user then presses the release button when the right fit has been achieved. That's a pretty interesting idea if Samsung will guarantee it for 5 years. Otherwise, it is a feature that would render the Bangle close to useless in no time flat if the compression feature fails to keep it snug to the user's wrist. One of the key points that Samsung made in their patent background summary is that it was easy to lose a smartphone as it could slip out of your pocket, therefore a Bangle could solve this problem. So it is an important selling feature that Samsung would get it right. Other optional design features. Other miscellaneous design considerations include adding hardware-based function buttons. 171, 172, 173, and 174 on the left side patent figure 29 below, there. So as to control turning the Bangle display on or off, changing in mode, a shortcut function, selecting, controlling a volume, and activating and inactivating apps. And it shows the display there. Samsung's other patents, figures 37A and 37B, noted above on the right present the view of special user interfaces related to lists that could be scrolled through quickly. Another interesting feature can be seen in Samsung's patent figures 47A, 47B, and 47C noted above, which illustrated a user gesture to display new indicators. In some ways, it looks like a mini Rolodex that will be able to display much more information than a simple list can. It can turn the lists that were first noted above in patent figure 37A and B and turn them into informative cards in an instant. That is a nice idea too. And it displays all that. More specifically, the Bangle mobile device 3300 above display a first indicator, a number 4710, and a list UI number 4700 in the state when the user long taps the indicator or holds the first indicator with the user's hand. A second indicator, number 4720, displayed beside the user's finger as shown in figure 47B. The second indicator may be comprised of information that is greater or more specific than the first indicator. The user may move the list on a basic index basis by scrolling or rubbing while tapping or holding the second indicator. Samsung's mobile storage drawer. When it comes to storage metaphors, Samsung introduces us to one that will be appreciated by both student and business users alike. In Samsung's patents, figure 44A, noted below, we're able to see a list of UI number 4400, which is displayed in the form of familiar tools such as a filing cabinet, a desk drawer, a bookshelf, a box, and the like. Here, an application item is displayed in the form of paper, photos, and files that could be found in piles. They show displays from 44 figure A to D. Samsung's figure 44A noted above illustrates application items which are displayed in the form of files. An application name may be recorded or each file in this state. When the user selects one file noted as patent point 4410 above, a graphic effect that can be initiated to provide the appearance on the file being opened or a memo being flipped. In patent 44, figure 44B, we're able to see that a memo application has been selected and an execution screen to display the content of memo being displayed. When the memo content is long, a menu as shown in patent point number 4411 above will appear listing the memo's content. In addition, when the many memos are stored, an image, see patent point number 4412, will appear to illustrate that there are a plurality of documents in a pile to review. In this state, when the user touches a corner of the memo and drags or flicks it, it will appear that the user is turning over the page to see the next memo. For example, the execution screen may be expressed in the form of an adhesive memo pad or what is better known as sticky notes. Location and e-commerce services. In one area of Samsung's patent filing, they note that when the mobile device is employed in a vehicle, such as a bicycle, an autobike, or a car instead of the user's body, the mobile device may be used by detecting a moving direction or a speed of the vehicle. For example, the mobile device or Bangle may display locations of members of a group or may inform the user of whether there is a member distance away from the group. In addition, when the mobile device is used in a shopping cart of a major supermarket, the mobile device may communicate when a server provides in the major supermarket and may support various services. For example, when information on a product that the user wishes to buy is input, the mobile device may display a location or direction of the product to be bought. In addition, the mobile device may provide a variety of event information provided by the server through a screen or a sound. In addition, the mobile device may display a list of products that the user wishes to buy or may allow the user to make a payment for the bought product directly using a card recognition function. Miscellaneous patent points. The Bangle type refers to a type that the user can wear on a part of the user's body, such as wrist, ankle, belly, or head. The Bangle may be configured to include a geomagnetic sensor or gyro sensor and an acceleration sensor to detect motion in various directions and to recognize shaking patterns, a movement order, a rhythm, and a direction using the motion sensor. The Bangle may include electromyogram or EMG sensor disposed on a part of the inner circumference of the body of the mobile device that is directly in contact with the user's body. The controller recognizes a change in the user's position based on a detected value output from the EMG sensor and performs a control operation corresponding to the recognized change in the position. The Bangle will include a communications chip to connect with external devices like a smartphone. The Bangle comes with a microphone, so taking and making phones will be an option. Voice recognition will allow users to make phone calls simply using voice command. Samsung noted that when a gesture of slapping high fives or another user who wears a mobile device of a Bangle type is detected, the mobile device may exchange commands or data with the mobile device or another user using NFC or other wireless communication methods. I can see this being part of a TV ad in the future. While the Bangle will offer a watch function, the main thrust of the patent is on applications from music to health and exercise to email, TV, maps, Facebook, photos, memos, and more. And it says here, Samsung filed their U.S. patent application back in Q4 2014, which is the fourth quarter. Considering that this is a patent application, the timing of such a product to market is unknown at this time. And yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff here. Has its conveniences, but has its violations. It can be used for good or oppress. And the question is this: if it's going to be, if it's like Wi-Fi related, will this Bangle be cancer proof or radiation proof? That's another thing people should really think about. And the fact is, it's not even released yet. People don't know for sure. But something really to look at. You know, check it out and observe it responsibly. But it's like first I'm gonna do something like on technology again, but from Patent Mobile. And they do have a Facebook page too. Just go at Patently Mobile, and they got some real good information. That's when I learned about from them with the electronic handcuffs. Yeah, they put that out there. So, all right. Next thing I'm gonna be hitting came from. I got this originally from Blacklisted News via Twitter. Always thank Doug Owens. He always puts some good stuff out there. And this came from ABC Australia. Okay, news. And came out. Probably you say yesterday, but came out today. It says here: Greenpeace worker loses millions in failed gamble on international currency markets. This was written by Europe correspondent Barbara Miller, who wires it. Greenpeace has fired an employee who lost the environmental charity $5.47 million in a failed gamble on a international currency market. Greenpeace Communications Director Mike Townsley said the unnamed employee went above his authority in agreeing to deal with a broker who was meant to mitigate currency losses for the charity. Nothing suggests at this point that he acted for personal gain. It seems to be a terrible miscalculation, Mr. Townsley said. The contract turned out to be a very bad one. Greenpeace is conducting an internal investigation, and the organization control system has since been addressed. The charity has apologized unreservedly to its donors and is promising to soak up the loss by deferring investments and not be reducing spending on frontline activities. The Netherlands-based group, like many big charities, agrees to fixed rate foreign exchange deals with third-party brokers to try to protect it from the world currency fluctuations. It is a common practice for organizations like ours with worldwide presence, Mr. Townley said. We would be too exposed to currency fluctuations and risk to lose a lot of money. Greenpeace, known for its militant anti-drilling campaigns on oil rigs in the Arctic, has a total annual budget of about $432 million. No Greenpeace campaign will suffer as a result of the loss. Well, you always got to handle your funds more appropriately. That's what I got to say about the Greenpeace. And Yeah, there's some little fluctuate. There's some like pros and cons about this organization claiming to be part of the New World Order. There's just a lot of claims that I've read in the past. I can't really put an actual pinpoint to it, but I always recommend you check it out. Observe responsibly, but remember, always invest. Use your money wisely. Big mistake there for them. Alright, let's check this out, see what we got. Wow, we got a lot of stuff here. Yeah, we do. Okay, good. So far, so good. You know, I'm enjoying it. I know I'm doing like a little extension because I didn't do the whole show for the week. So I'm glad you guys are still with me on this, which is really damn cool. And yeah, this came from the New American, which is like a John Birch Society organization. You know, New American's website. They have a New American magazine, but it's something interesting. They got some good writers, and so this one here came out today around 2000. So like 20th hour. I don't know where, but it says here, High Court rules pro-life group may sue over false speech law. The anti-abortion Susan B. Anthony List may proceed with his First Amendment suit against Ohio over the state enforcement of a ban on a false political speech. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in a 9-0 decision issued Monday. The SBA list, which supports pro-life candidates and opposes those who support legalized abortion, filed suit in federal court after the Ohio Election Commission in 2010 ruled against groups ad campaign against Representative Stephen Dyerhus, a first-term Democrat representing the state's 1st district. The SBA has announced a radio and billboard campaign against members of Congress. The group charged had voted for taxpayer-funding abortion by voting for Patient Protection and Affordable Act of 2010, or called Obamacare. Though a billboard ad planned for Dreyhus district will have declared shame on Steve Dreyhus. Dreyhus voted for taxpayer-funded abortion. Dreyhus filed a complaint with the Elections Commission, claiming the SBA list was spreading lies about him. The advertising company said that the controlled billboard space refused to run the ad after receiving a letter from Dreyhus' attorney threatening legal action. The SBA list charged its First Amendment rights has been violated, but the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit ruled against the group's appeal. Dreyhus has withdrawn this complaint after losing the election, and the SBA list has continued to advertise its message after the complaint has been filed. The court also ruled that the group lacked standing to sue because it could not demonstrate an imminent threat of future prosecution. Supreme Court disagreed in a unanimous opinion written by Associate Justice Clarence Thomas. The threat of future enforcement of false statement statute is substantial, Thomas wrote, noting the specter of enforcement is so substantial that the owner of the billboard refused to display SBA's message after receiving a letter threatening commission proceedings. While in fact the prospect of future enforcement is far from imaginary or speculative. The case SB List versus Dreyhus is remanded for future proceedings. When the Affordable Care Act was before the U.S. House in 2010, the representatives passed an amendment sponsored by Bart Stupak to the Democrat from Michigan and Joseph R. Pitts, Republican from Pennsylvania, prohibiting the use of federal funds to pay for any abortion or to cover any part of the costs of health plan. Any health plan that includes coverage of abortion, except in cases of rape, incest, or in danger for the life of the mother. The Senate refused to adopt the measure. However, in the House dropped it after the president promised to impose a ban by executive order. The SBA list argues that the law nonetheless includes taxpayer-supported subsidies for the purchase of health insurance policies that cover elective, not medically necessary abortions. Though 24 states forbid coverage of elective abortions in policies so through the insurance exchanges established under the Obamacare law, the other 26 permit such coverage. Dreyhus who has previously served in the Peace Corps, enlist for another 2 years term following his defeat. He later lost a libel suit he brought against the SB list, claiming the group caused his loss of livelihood by defaming him with his charge that he voted for taxpayer funding of abortion. The SB list had continued to run its billboard against those who voted for Obamacare. The group's website features shame on Mary Landrieu, ad against Senator Mary Landrieu, Democrat from Louisiana, with the same message it used against Dryas. In a curious statement, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, in dismissing the SBA list suit, noted the group had not alleged it plans to lie or recklessly disregard the veracity of his speech in future and therefore is not in imminent danger of prosecution under the Ohio law. The issue, however, is not whether an organization plans to deliberately lie, but whether a state may create an agency empowered by law to determine which political statements are true and which are false. Court rulings, most notably the 1964 Supreme Court decision in the New York Times versus Sullivan, have held that the freedom of speech protection under the First Amendment raises high the barriers against judicial findings of libel or slander in statements made against public figures, including elected officials, by empowering an elections commission to determine the veracity of statements made about a candidate in the midst of an election campaign. The state of Ohio has created some eerily similar to the Minister of Truth in George Orwell's novel 1984. National Security Agency has its helper in state legislatures, along with TV, radio, email, and phone call records. Big Brother is watching our billboards. Yep. Wow. All I gotta say, when you criticize people, including elected servants, whether state, local, federal, and appointees, make sure all the facts are straight. Free speech is great. First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it does not just protect popular speech, but unpopular speech or rhetoric. I have to say, yes, I like it. And I'm glad the SB list won. Because the whole thing is this. As long as you got the facts, they cannot, and the people that's defaming, as long as you can back it up, they have to refute it. So, and a lot of these individuals, about politics is a dirty entity, and like I say, a lot of these people, individuals in Congress, like the servants, they're great at defaming themselves. So that's how I see it. And I'm like, mellow out. I'm gonna take a little quick breather and be right back as soon as possible. Yeah, I'm back. I just had to take a little quick breather there. So, I'm just, like I said, I'm just probably the longest episode I've done. So, bear with me here, my friends. Alright, next one I'll be doing actually just came from ZNet.com to be exact. And it's entitled Freeing Yourself from Facebook's New Web Trackers. It's a summary. It says, don't want Facebook tracking your every move across the web? Here's how to get out of the new Facebook traps, which was written by Stephen J. Von Nichols for Networking. And you can follow him on Twitter too. It says here, once upon a time, 2011, a hacker discovered that Facebook was tracking you on the web even after you had left the site. Facebook denied that using cookies to track you off-site, but strangely enough, after many protests, Facebook changed its tracking behavior anyway. Now in 2014, Facebook announced, "Stop me if you heard this before. Then they'll be tracking your web browsing." And it's pretty interesting here. There's a little photo of that. It says, ironically, to avoid Facebook's new tracking system, you must let the Digital Advertising Alliance opt-out page. Scan your web browser's cookie and history. Of course, Facebook puts a more positive spin on its tracking policy change. When we ask people about our ads, one of the top things they'll tell us is that they want to see ads that are more relevant to their interests. So in the US, instead of just relying on what pages or posts you like on Facebook, Facebook will start using information from the websites you visit and the apps you use. On the plus side, Facebook will also let you see why you'll be seeing these ads. New style ads have a tiny arrow on the top right corner. If you click it, you have the option of discovering the why am I seeing this ad. You also have the option of blocking ads from a specific advertiser or a type of product. Do this, you once more click on the top right arrow in the ad and choose to hide all such ads. What you can't do to avoid these new Facebook ads is use a web browser's do not track option, DNT. Facebook has deliberately chosen not to honor DNT on the grounds that there is no industry consensus behind it. In all fairness, Facebook has a right about DNT. It's right about DNT. The DNT standard never had real support from the advertisers, and without them, it could never be more than a dead standard walking. So if you want to avoid these new ads, you need to go through Digital Advertising Alliance, DAA, own privacy portal. As it happens, the DAA is the group whose withdrawal from the W3C led to the end of an effective work on DNT. The DAA's private portal will then scan your web browser's cookies and history, oh the irony, and tell you what advertising networks were on your request to no longer receive interest-based advertising from all of our participating companies. You can choose to opt out Facebook's new target ads, as well as tracking ads from many other advertisers such as eBay, Google, and Microsoft. The DAA and its partners do this by setting a cookie that informs the companies you selected that you don't want them to collect and use information about your browser's online activities, and for the purpose of outline behavioral advertising. Then you'll get to repeat the process for each browser and every device you use. There is no one-stop method to avoid tracking mechanism. If you don't want to be part of Facebook's brave new world of advertising with your mobile apps, you must also make the following changes to your tablets and smartphone. On an Apple device, open Setting and go to General, Restriction, Advertising, then click Limit Ad Tracking. On Android devices, go to Setting, and from there head to Google Settings, Ads, then check out Opt-out Interest-Based Ads. Of course, to really avoid Facebook following you, you could always just leave Facebook. Considering that Facebook now has well over 1 billion users, and more than 500 million of them are active on mobile devices every day, it doesn't seem likely that everyone will start leaving. So if you care about your privacy, you're just going to keep an eye on Facebook and keep patching and fixing your privacy shields as Facebook continues to change its policies. Oh yes, I understand that completely. So those are the little few options. And of course, Facebook's going to be changing a lot. So like I said, I recommend this to everybody. You really want to piss off people like them, don't put your personal diary in those pages, period. I use Facebook to put out good information, including doing my shows, and post them on my wall, and make sure everyone can read it. So my platform is educational, not who I'm seeing sleeping or having or fornicating with. That is irrelevant, because I hear this all. I read some of these individuals' information, and in all due respect, don't be street stupid. Alright? Use it right. Hit this site. It will be on my Spreaker page as well. And just use enemy's tools. Counter it. Alright? So, next one here came from Activist Post. And it's written by Joe Wright. This is titled, Citizen Journalism is winning the news war in Syria. As it reads, hold on here, just make it a little bigger just for the hell of it. Boom. Yeah, one more time here. Bang. Good. It says here, the press release posted below from Index on Censorship correctly highlights the importance of everyday citizens getting involved and reporting on issues that corporate media cannot or will not address. The central points are made valid, but we always need to be skeptical of organizations that seek to collate information and vet it for accuracy. In this case, a monitoring program called Syria Tracker. While clearing there is a need to verify sources and separate propaganda from real news, Index on Censorship, has received some questionable funding, which you can view here. One source is George Soros's Open Society Foundations. To get the benefit of the doubt, perhaps IOC is not aware of the blood attached to the money that they receive. However, there is a well-documented human rights scam that muddies the water of all official reporting. Even reports that come from seemingly well-intentioned NGOs. Tony Carlucci, excellent article, Soros Conviction Exposed Human Rights Scam, thoroughly addressed this issue. Nevertheless, as a corporate government media continues its attempt to outlaw independent journalism, continues to purchase and or creates NGO movements, and begins equating the denouncing of terrorism with terrorism itself. See the story of Syrian girl here, which is all red font lettering. There are links to all these sites, okay? It is of paramount importance that citizens step up and become the media that they wish to see in the world. Press release. Citizen reporters are increasingly getting stories out of remote areas of Syria, which are difficult for traditional media to reach during the conflict, according to data collected for Index on Censorship magazine. It shows more reports coming from citizen journalists than traditional media in all areas of the country, with the exception of Homs. In the Index of Censorship magazine worked with Syria Tracker, the independent news trackers, which has scanned 160,000 news reports and social media updates to look at the scale of citizen journalism. Syria Tracker verifies and analyzes data before publishing on its own website. Only 6% of data is considered to be well enough sourced to be published. Syria Tracker monitors 2,000 different news sources, including pro-regime outlets. Add this to 80 million social media updates and 4,000 eyewitness reports, and you can draw some interesting conclusions, according to Index on Censorship's the deputy editor and author of the article, Vicky Baker. For example, female deaths at the beginning of the conflict totaled 1%, but then sharply rose to reach 18%, clearly suggesting a point where citizens became targeted and were not collateral damage. This data analyst has also shown that children make up 11% of all documented killings in Syria, with reports suggesting that have been targeted while at schools, at home, and while waiting in bread lines. These sort of projects are vital to worldwide organizations, and when aided by data, journalism can help gain a fuller picture of the devastation being wrought, Baker said. Syria Tracker has been hacked and targeted with threats, with some of the citizen reporters are missing, possibly dead. If citizens had abandoned the project a few months after the 2011 launch, as was anticipated, our understanding events between Syria's borders would be even more limited. Task Kashab, A Syria Tracker's founder said the work was relentless and like a hurricane happening every minute. Yet Syria Tracker provided another tool for those attempting to piece together the full picture of what is happening during the war. This is not a clinical trial, says Kashout. We are telling the story. It's a living record. A few professional journalists can reach remote regions of Syria. Instead, thousands of citizens are helping out to get the news of the devastation out. To date, Syria Tracker has mapped over 4,000 geotagged, verified eyewitness reports and uses large-scale data mining to scan news reports and social media updates. Only verified data are published around 6% of what Syria Tracker receives. Manual checking can take several days and includes correlating nearby reports and sometimes involves scanning gruesome and shaky video footage. Members of the core team work 2 to 3 hours each day in addition to their day jobs. Syria Tracker offers a window in the future of journalism in a particular war reporting, says Baker. International press and aid organizations were unable to rely on their own personnel on the ground, and so the world is looking to citizen journalism and crowdsourcing more than ever. Data complied for Index on Censorship show that the majority of news reports from June 2011 to February 2014 outside Homs were sourced via crowdsourcing rather than traditional news journalism. For instance, in Aleppo, 184 reports came from news articles and 18,776 from crowdsourcing, according Syria Tracker data. Number of deaths of women has risen from 1 to 18% total. Data journalism is helping to create a fuller picture of what's happening in danger zones. If you'd like a copy of data mapping, then please contact Katie Baker at katie.baker.sagepub, which is sagepub.co.uk. And of course, they are an Index of Censorship. They're a good website. They have their sources here. And I gotta say, yes, citizen journalism is on fire worldwide. And I do commend this. I get stuff from YouTube, and I just love sharing this information because I always like to see the little folks with the heart and soul to tell you what's really going on. And that's why dinosaur media or lamestream media are getting their butts kicked. I'm very happy about it, and hopefully I just pray, and hopefully everyone listening to the show, hopefully and pray that Syria will have true peace, security, and spiritual prosperity in their nation. And it's a real shame what's going on, because you got a bunch of military-industrial complex chicken hawks are really one of the benefiting here the most, and the Syrian people are suffering dearly, whether they're Christians, Jews, or Muslims. And that's all I have to say. So, hope for the best in Syria. But great article by Joe. Thank you, Joe. Okay, next one here from PressTV.ir, which IR means is from Iran. And this is from Genocide in Iraq, Result of American Policy Analyst. And it's like a 3-minute video, so let's check it out. Let's see what they have to say here in a moment.
The situation and developments in Iraq were absolutely predictable and are a result of the United States and Western hegemony in Iraq. Their desires to impose Western hegemony in Iraq and to carry out this blueprint that is widely available to the public can see. It's called PNAT, Project for a New American Century, and the human cost, which seems to never be a factor to these Zionist neocons, and we're seeing that on the ground in Iraq. The fall, the potential fall of Baghdad, which has everybody concerned ventures and trying to impose its will into the affairs of other nations. And ultimately it has just created horrific conditions under the peoples of other regions of the world. Now you have Senator Graham trying to create hysteria among the American population who has grown weary of wars and more wars by saying, trying to drum up support for bombing and military intervention in Syria and Iraq by saying that there's probably going to be another 9/11 unless we do this. Well, 9/11, terrorism, the Soviets, communists, these are all buzzwords that neocons and their Zionist supporters use to try to shape U.S. policy in a certain direction, and it has had horrific consequences. The United States needs to take a step back and pause and reflect on these disastrous consequences. Now, the positive side is this has created a possibility for a direct dialogue with Iran, which needs to happen. This talk of military action by the United States, which is being pushed by the Zionist extremists to get the United States to engage in some sort of military strike against Iran, that needs to stop, because now we see that Iran is in the position of offering assistance to stop this genocide in Iraq, which is a result of American policy. And I hope that there is a direct dialogue between Iran and the United States, and that will demonstrate once and for all to the American public that these Zionist policies and these Zionist policymakers have been completely discredited.
That was Rodney Martin, who was a former U.S. congressional speaker. Yeah, maybe speaker. Let me just look at that again. Let's be safe here. Rodney Martin, who was a former U.S. congressional staffer, she addressed this from Los Angeles. And it's been really nasty what's going on in Iraq. Even though I'm not a big fan of Saddam Hussein, I always look at him as a tyrannical patsy. He was a tyrant and a patsy. What's going on right now in that nation is pure sacrilege. And it doesn't matter if they're Zionists and neocons or the New Century of America. I took a glimpse of that, some of the documents. This is nothing more than a New World Order agenda or the order or one world government mission. I was proud to be strong opposition of the Iraq War. Okay? I did not like it. I condemn it. And the ones that voted for it ought to be ashamed of themselves. Don't give a damn if you're Democrat or Republican. I know one thing. Senator John Kerry, he voted for it. He's a Democrat. And Hillary Clinton. We can go on. Just an example. The United States of America needs to be a republic once again. Eternally. Imperialism is nothing more than a sham. Whether if they're Zionist or this group or that group, it don't matter, because they're all the same. I think this is totally unacceptable. It has to stop. The people in Iraq have to really observe or lay down on the table what they want for the interest of their people. International organizations, foreign countries, corporations need a butt out. I'm sick of it. This is just an example. And I probably condemn this. And I don't even like George W. Bush and Cheney. I condemn them for supporting it. They're nothing more than warmongering chicken hawks. And everyone else that voted for this. This has to stop. Once and for all. Alright. Gonna do my last article here. Almost done 2 hours. Same thing this by Press TV, which are based out of Iran, but they got some good stuff. And let's see if they have anything here. Yeah, this one here came out. Yeah, it came out yesterday. Okay, no problem. But it's interesting. It's about it's about Scotland. Scotland releases draft constitution. And it's from the Deputy First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon. The Scottish government has set out the first draft constitution for an independent Scotland in advance of the upcoming September 18th referendum. Deputy First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, started the public outreach on the draft Scottish Independence Bill. While giving a speech at Edinburgh University on Monday. In the case of a yes vote in the independence referendum, a temporary constitution will first be used and it will be replaced by a permanent one. If the draft legislation is passed by the Parliament, it will take effect from March 24th, 2014. Sturgeon said, a written constitution can be the foundation on which we can build that better Scotland. A written constitution is an important part of a nation's identity. It defines who we are and set out the values that we hold dear. The bill also sets out the framework for a constitutional convention that will follow independence and will develop Scotland's permanent written constitution. The temporary constitution states, Scotland's people are sovereign rather than parliament or government. Scotland functions as an independent parliamentary democracy with a government and the Queen is head of the state. The national flag of Scotland continues to be the Saltire. The Scottish Parliament can choose a national anthem for Scotland. The rule of law applies from day one of independence. Rules for Scotland's citizenship. According to recent polls, there has been a surge support for yes vote in the upcoming referendum on Scotland's independence. Yep, so one person criticized it by saying nothing like pretending you're independent when you're still shackled to the most evil on the planet. What a sick joke Scots have become. Well, the people in Scotland, that wants to be an independent nation, have to really look at everything thoroughly. To see from the UK completely. Make sure your flag will never be used with golden ridges, which it represents British maritime law. That would be desecrating your republic, your sovereignty. Don't get involved with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, anything that's one world government entities. Always be leery when you like to use the word democracy, because it's a majority vote, 50% plus one. Democracy can be very dangerous. Be a republic. Become the rule of law. There's a few things you have to really look at if you want to be a true independent nation. That's to all my colleagues out there in Scotland. Follow your hearts and soul. Keep it real and organic. And watch out for the infiltrators, plants, and treasonous quacks. Thereafter, wish you folks the best. Always remain vigilant when it comes to a free society or free nation. Alright, my friends. That is it. It's almost 2 hours of me talking to you guys. Probably saying, why the hell you took so long, brother? But I gotta admit, I enjoy it. So I'm going to put all those footnotes on my Spreaker page. So you could send all your comments, criticisms, love mail, hate mail, don't matter. Send me information too. I like open platforms. You can send all that data to Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, WorldTruth.tv, and RTR.org, which stands for Restore the Republic. I need to post all this stuff on those other pages too. I've been a little bit lazy on it, so forgive me on that. And I have my traditional ending quote. Demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate societies. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.